9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester United have reached the promised land.
Well. Morning, everybody. I would say good morning. Don't particularly think it's going to be a good morning. I particularly think it was a good weekend. It wasn't a good weekend. It was a crap weekend of football. It was another new low for this Manchester United team, which somehow, honestly, keep finding new lows. I don't know how they keep doing it. At least they're consistent in that regard. But morning to everybody. This is probably going to be one of those therapy sessions rather than anything else because I'm still pissed off about the Brighton game. Yeah, I'm pissed off about the Brighton game. That, surprised, not particularly. Disappointed massively. But we need to talk about Ralf Rangnick this morning. That's probably why I'm still pissed off. I feel like I've had to defend Ralf Rangnick over the course of what's happened at the weekend. We've got the podcast being recorded this evening. No doubt that Ralf Rangnick is going to be part of that conversation. But we've got to talk about it because this game that happened at the weekend, I'm going to waste absolutely no time diving straight into this one because I really want to know what you think about this. Everything that happened at the weekend. Who's down here in the comments? Jedi, good to see you there, mate. And we've got Asan, Sam, Reggio, Paula, Anuj, United Forever, Paul Swift, Joda, good to see you all this morning. Josh, Sigmund, Craig, Tim, Bruce, loads of you down here this morning. Fred, I can see you there as well. Jesus. Oh, man. We just got to sit there as a football club and just sit there and just watch Liverpool go for a quadruple. Big up to Son, by the way. Big up to Spurs as well. Hopefully that doesn't fucking come to reality. We don't need that. I mean, the nightmare is already bad enough, but let alone if a treble or a quadruple. Thank you very much, Spurs. We just had to sit here as United fans and watch our two biggest rivals turn the Premier League into a two-horse race. At the same time as we have to watch Manchester United lose 4-0 to Brighton. As I said, I don't know how this United team keeps doing it, but they somehow find new lows. You thought maybe that the 4-1 away to Watford was probably the lowest of the lows. Even after the humiliation against Liverpool 5-0 at Old Trafford and the 2-0 against City at Old Trafford, that 4-1 against Watford felt like the lowest it could possibly be, a team which had now been relegated. And I would put that game against Brighton up there on par with that game against Watford. And of course, that was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's last game in charge. And this is the penultimate game in charge for Ralf Rangnick. But I don't really want to talk about the football itself too much. I want to talk about Ralf Rangnick because I need to have a discussion with you this morning. I sent this tweet out after the game, and I stand by exactly what I said there. You got Sam Pilger there, down in the comments, a journalist saying, Manchester United's decision to appoint Ralf Rangnick, a man with no ability to motivate players, who have been a manager for just 88 games in the previous 10 years, and who was hidden away in the backwater of Russian football, has been an absolute disaster. And I couldn't disagree with that comment anymore. I said Rangnick has been the best thing to happen to this club in a long time. He's put a spotlight on all the rot. He's called every player out. He's called the board out. He's not left a stone unturned. He has forced change. If you want to focus on the results and short term, go ahead. Now, I realized this weekend, it's not my style at all, but I felt like I was jumping in and being one of those emotional fans that would say things that maybe step back and go, was that the right thing to do? And I think that absolutely was the right thing to say. And I said this in my match reaction as well. And I still stand by the fact that Rangnick has been a great thing overall for our club. You can't deny that the results have been abysmal. I mean, we're on for, I think, our worst ever Premier League points tally. Most goals we've ever conceded in a single Premier League season. There's no doubting whatsoever that the results have been bad and poor. But is it just, honestly, this is why I need to have a conversation with you this morning. Is this just fans of other clubs from the outside looking in, trying to denounce Rangnick? Or are there a lot of United fans that genuinely do think that Ralf Rangnick has been a complete disaster. And that's why I wanted to speak to you in the comments this morning, because I need to gauge exactly whether you agree with me or whether you don't. Jedi down here, you're saying this is the worst United team I've ever seen. On paper, it's nowhere near the worst United team I've ever seen. But in what we're actually watching with the football, the performances really are just an absolute abundance. Paulie, you're saying he's made a couple of errors like taking off Matic, but he'd already transformed our club and set us on a new path. It's a success for me. Rangnick is doing his best. The players are not trying. Callum, Ralf, just like previous managers, has been let down by a squad of players who are just happy to collect their pay and blame everyone else for their failures. Sar watching from Dubai, good morning to you, my friend. Ray, what are you saying here? You're saying, I dislike and disagree with these against Rangnick because you can see that after the international break, the players down the tools. Matt, yeah, as I said, I think I might do a video on this later today because it feels like such a pertinent conversation. Obviously this is impossible to prove, and this is, I suppose, just a hypothesis. But I swear to God, if we had gone into this second half of the season with Antonio Conte as manager, and we had maybe snuck into the top 4, I think it would have been just like putting plasters over axe wounds. And I don't think any substantial change would really, truly have happened. Instead, this has been painful. Oh my God, this has been painful. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And as I said, somehow this United team finds new lows. And I don't think that we'd be looking forward to next season with anywhere near as much optimism had the last 6 weeks not happened. I don't think anyway. Dipesh, you're saying I'm sick of watching these players play for United. As I said, I had a ticket for the game on Saturday. Mate managed to sort me one out, but something came up with my family, so I didn't go down. Thank fuck for that. Thank fuck for that. I knew plenty of guys that paid plenty of money, travelling, game, drink, spending a few £100 on the day to go and watch United, and they go and do that. You heard it from the away end. You're not fit to wear the shirt. Absolutely not fit to wear the shirt. And it's past it. The thing that's, of course, making this 10 times worse is this is all happening whilst we're watching City and Liverpool go toe-to-toe on a completely different planet of football. Incomparable, really. It's the Premier League a couple of years ago was not a 2-horse race in any way, shape or form. But they've gone to the stratosphere, whilst United have just, we're falling apart at the seams. Asan here saying, like the human body, things get worse before they get better. Rangnick has been let down by the players. John, you're saying, I'm not looking forward to next season at all. I'm expecting the same shit to continue under the Glazers. Of course we are. Of course we are. And I suppose we just live it. Is it blind hope? Is it just blind optimism? I don't think it's blind hope and blind optimism. I've said it to you quite a lot of times here on the United People's TV that it feels different. Next season could really be chapter 1 of something different. Because right now we're coming to the end of the book. Whatever this shitty book that's been written between 2014 and 2022, I hope 2022 is the end of that book. Because it's been terrible. Ups and downs, cups that don't really change too much in the course of our club. Europa League, FA Cup, League Cup. What happened? False dawns. That's exactly what they were, false dawns. A bit like that 3-0 against Brentford was a bit of a false dawn. The exact same starting 11 that played against Brentford did that against Brighton. And again, that's such a huge reason why I can't look at Ralf Rangnick and think, you know what, he made so many wrong decisions for that game against Brighton. It's the same fucking team that just breezed past Brentford. Oh, it's different. It's away from home, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to say. Same 11 to go out and put that sort of performance in. It's just despicable. It's past it. That there is nothing that you can say about this United team now that hasn't already been said. We're having to repeat ourselves and find new depths. As I said, new lows. 4-0 against Brighton, 4-1 against Watford, 4-0 against Liverpool at Anfield, 5-0 against Liverpool at Old Trafford. I think 2-0 against City at Old Trafford as well. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Jew saying this is at the end of the road. Rangnick was right and we need a real rebuild. Fred saying exposing the problems is all well and good. But if the board and above are not listening, where has he got Ralf? I've said this before quite a few times as well. I definitely fear that Ralf won't be listened to at the board level. But at the same time, I think Ralf has already been listened to in part behind the scenes. I think Ralf, again, you can't prove this. Of course you can't. It's all assumptions. But the change in direction of decisions that our club has made after Ralf arrived is definitely taking a turn. I think Ralf was part of that. I think John Murtough is leading that, and long may it continue. But at the same time, Ralf called out the board and the club for not backing him in the January transfer. He's like, look, we need a striker. We've got Ronaldo who's fit, Cavani who's injured, Martial's out on loan, Greenwood's now unavailable, and Rashford's bang out of form. You need an attacker. You need a striker between now and the end of the season. And you've only got to look at Kulusevski. I always get his name wrong. Who looks incredible, by the way. Great signing by Spurs. Kulusevski in January for Spurs, or Luis Diaz in January for Liverpool, and how important both of those players have been to change the scope of their season. In the same way that we saw that with Bruno Fernandes. If you make the right signings, you can change the course of how the second half of your season goes. But the board said no. The board said, no, Ralf, you're not getting that. And what we're seeing is reports that that's because Manchester United didn't want to take it out of the summer transfer budget, so they didn't back him. So, of course, there's huge fears that Ralf then won't be listened to as a consultant. And there's proof there that the board didn't listen to Ralf when he said that we needed to make a signing. But I just want this to be we've got 15 days now until Crystal Palace. I used to live in Crystal Palace. Lovely place. Final game of the season until we can close the book on this season. As I said, this needs to be the book being closed on this era of United. My word. If you look at the era at United between, look, a similar scope here. 2006, 2005 to 2013. 2005-6 time, if I remember correctly, that was when there were real calls for Fergie to go. Everybody thought that Mourinho coming into Chelsea started to dominate. It was like, no, now is the time that Fergie's got to go. He can't do it anymore. And then we went through probably our most dominant period ever in the Premier League. From that 2007 to 2011, we won the Champions League. We were in 2 finals. We won it 3 years in a row. Incredible. 2006, 2013. What a story. That exact same period from 2013 through to now. What a different story that is. Red, you're saying the people that don't agree with Ralph's appointment are the ones who want quick success and results, not actually thinking long-term with the rebuild. This is the thing. As I said, Red, I did this tweet and I didn't know whether it was... I couldn't be asked to get into the arguments about it, but I didn't know whether it was some United fans replying to me or whether it was just fans of other clubs. Because I think fans of other clubs looking in, this is hilarious. This is hilarious what's going on. Really, you're still backing Ralf Rangnick when you're playing this shit? My God, long may this continue. But that's because they haven't been a fan and been part of everything that's happened over the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. They don't know the cycles that we've been through. They don't know the cycle that we continued and we have continued to repeat. And I still stand by every single word I said in that tweet. You know, sometimes you can say stuff, you're a little bit emotional, and maybe you go, That's why I disagree with fan cams, personally. I did them right at the very start of United People's TV, but I quickly stopped them because at that time when it was full-time Devils and United Stand, and it was kind of the way that you had to run a fan channel. I never agreed with them because I always felt that they preyed on the vulnerabilities of people's emotions at the time. Shit's going to be really heightened after a big win when you think you're the best team in the world, or a big defeat when you think you're the worst team in the world, and you'll say huge, exaggerated sentences. And I felt like that might have been me this weekend. But no, in now that it's had a couple of days to settle, I still feel exactly the same there. I think Ralf is the best thing that's happened to this club in a long time. And everything that we needed, and I'm going to do a video on it later today, I think. Rio Ferdinand really pulled into question, almost slammed Ralf Rangnick's interviewing techniques, saying that he shouldn't be airing things in public. And I could not disagree any more with what Rio said. Suman, you sent in a chat, mate, but you haven't sent anything in with it, so I can't read it out, my friend. Fans that don't understand United don't understand that United need more than a quick fix. It's completely different, man. It's when you look at City and you look at Liverpool and where they are and where they're going to, there's a lot of talking points we've got to get through this morning. As I said, it's a bit of a therapy session. I think I just needed to vent a little bit there, and I wanted to see what you I wanted to see whether you agree with me in the comments, because I've got a lot of stick this weekend, and I was like, Sam, are you? I think I sent another tweet out. I was like, I feel like I'm really forgiving with Ralf Rangnick with the results, because I'm not really focusing on that. I'm focusing further down the line, if you know what I mean. I've always had a long-term view of Ralf Rangnick's appointment. I've never, and I said this before, you do not bring, look, Sam Peel just completely right there. You don't bring in a manager who's managed 88 games in the last 10 years if you really gave a fuck about the second half of that season. If you really genuinely, if the pure focus of Manchester United back in November was to get into the top four, Ralf Rangnick was the wrong appointment. That's what I feel. I feel that the club has almost winningly accepted that the second half of this season really is probably not going to go down well. It could do. You know, it might do. It's not as if it's outside the realms of possibility with Ralf Rangnick, but it's probably more likely that we'll struggle, with the intention of then something else coming next and Ralf Rangnick being part of that change. That's what I think anyway. You're repeating the same naivety you showed in November 21. That's what I mean. Like, call it naivety if you want. I don't call it naivety. I call it pure fucking optimism that my club will not be a joke for life. And we won't be. Liverpool have shown that. Took them 30 odd years, but they're not a joke. They're back up to where they are now. You know why? Because their fucking club started operating properly. And United would never have done that had all of this not happened under Ralf Rangnick. Trust me. Oh, great. We get top four. Brilliant. Go and brag about that in the playground if you want. What does that change for my club? Absolutely nothing. Same shit's going to happen next year. Repeat, repeat, repeat. This is the opportunity to really be the watershed moment this season. Can't get any lower. Hasn't got any lower than like this. This is the lowest we've ever finished lowest points tally we've ever had in the Premier League. And there's a chance that West Ham go above us still. Nate, you're saying Rio doesn't like Ralf talking about his mate Jesse. I think he's come out and said pretty much similar to me. He goes, there really is no winner in this Jesse Lingard situation. Club looks bad. Jesse looks bad. Everybody loses, and everybody does lose. Suman, you're saying, I don't think Ralf is a good coach. He's had no influence. I think I've said this to you before. Not you, Suman, but everybody in general. One game. First 30, 40 minutes against Crystal Palace. Now, I kind of had an argument. I'm sure I'll speak about this in the podcast later on today as well. That I felt the fact that the team played so well and they were coached immediately in that first game. They bought into it, and then the drop-off happened. I think it's down to the players first and foremost. And the fact that we saw such a drop-off between Brentford and Brighton with the same starting 11, and you really want to focus on Ralf, you can do that if you want. Bebo. Most fans don't care about the details of the club. They just want results and short-term wins, and that's all they care about. It's in the same way that the only reason Ed Woodward wanted us, maybe not the only reason, but the driving reason Ed Woodward wanted us to win the Premier League is so he had a Premier League on his CV. So he couldn't wait 5-6 years for it. He couldn't wait for a cycle. He had to win it now. Mourinho. It was a Mourinho-type narcissistic point of view from Woodward that drove this club's transfer strategy and blew it up into a shitty version of the Galacticos. And we're still reeling from it now. Jedi, you're saying, without Rangnick, we will be looking at 4 more years of decline. And Matthew, you're saying, I'm happy Ralf is highlighting the issues. Too many coaches have allowed this squad to get away with mediocrity. Craig, you're saying the people that have bad opinion of Ralf must look in the mirror. They don't know what's happening behind the scenes. As a short-term boss, Rangnick is a failure, but Ralf is part of the bigger long-term plan. Tim, you're saying Ralf is shocking. Said it all along. He's a smokescreen. They brought him in as a distraction and nothing more. I completely and utterly disagree with that idea. They brought him in as a distraction. Look, right. Do you want to know something hilarious, really, about Ralf Rangnick? And this genuinely does put a smile on my face. You remember when we were linked with Conte back in November? And everybody had their opinion on it. I didn't think it would be the right appointment, personally. And I stand by that. But a big reason that the club avoided Antonio Conte was because they were worried that he would come in and be far too confrontational, would come in and sort of ruffle too many feathers, and that it would cause friction between the club and the board. Ralf Rangnick is right now just spraying bullets everywhere. He's doing it in a very polite and intelligent way, subtle way, but he is throwing more shade than any manager has previously. It's basically the club avoided Conte to avoid that sort of confrontation, but have now got it 10 times with Ralf Rangnick. And that puts such a smile on my face because I think this is blown up massively. Not blown up massively. I think they would have expected it to a certain degree, but I think it's just brilliant. I think it is brilliant. This is the sort of pain. Of course, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It absolutely applies to this situation. It applies to Manchester United because all these attempts at mini fixes. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we all did this. We all crossed our fingers. We were like, you know what? I don't know. Okay, sorry, I read a comment and it distracted me. What is it? Mate, I think I've had one too many beers. Your camera is straight again. I fixed my camera. I know. That's exactly what I did. Sorry, you made me completely lose my chain of thought there. Manuel, I know that most of you didn't like Mourinho, and there are a lot of reasons for this, but in my opinion, he also tried to show the world what is going on behind the scenes. He did, all right? He absolutely did. And I applaud Mourinho for doing that. But at that moment in time, it was Mourinho fighting against the club. And that's why it blew up everywhere. Because he was swimming upstream. I've told you this as well. Mourinho came from a more cynical point of view, a point of view that had a bit of malice to it. It was like, this is what Mourinho does. We've seen him do this at every club he's been at. He lights it on fire and he walks away from it. That's what Mourinho does. But I just feel the whole time like it's been different with Ralf. And I genuinely, for the life of me, cool. You can call this naivety if you want, but I genuinely believe this. This is what Ralf said after the game. He said, I'm still positive that we can change the whole issue and show a completely different face next season. And this is important, not only for our fans, but also for the image of the whole club. And that's it. That's what we need, man. The image of the whole club has been dragged through the mud. They keep talking about the United way, the United identity. That's a fucking nostalgic memory and nothing more. All we've had to do this season is not only watch United, the expectations of where we went from in August to now, in terms of finishing second, then signing Varane, Sancho and Ronaldo, to November, to Solskjaer being sacked, to Rangnick coming in, and amid all of this, to watch Liverpool fucking go for a quadruple and City go for a treble. We've had to watch all of that at the same time as both of our rivals dominating the league. It's been insane. And there's a comment there. I mean, someone's feeling very chippy this morning. I would absolutely stand by my criticism of Harry Maguire. At no point have I ever said that all of Manchester United's problems fall at the feet of Harry Maguire. I don't think anybody's ever said that. But he should not be captain of Manchester United. And I don't really think he should be a Manchester United player. He is one of the problems. Yes, he's captain. Therefore, he's a bigger problem. It's what comes with having the armband. Neil, you're saying, I still don't trust the board. Do you, Sam? No, I never will. And neither will you. None of us will ever trust the board to make the right decisions. But I tell you what, I think I trust John Murtough a bit now. I think John Murtough has shown me enough in terms of his decision-making that I can, with some sort of optimism and not pure naivety, think that this club is actually going to be changing direction a little bit. And you're saying Conte would have highlighted the issues as well, but they've done it in a manner that would have set the Glazers against him, whereas Ralf has managed to instigate changes internally already. I think it's just the approach. Because if you look at what Conte's doing at Spurs, he's doing the exact same thing that he probably would have done at United. The club's not matching my ambition. I want to win trophies. We're years up, blah, blah, blah. Ralph's just done it in a more of a professor. Because it's all about, this is what it is with management, right? If Conte, Mourinho and Rangnick may have all, in theory, had the same idea in their head. This club's an absolute shambles. Things have to change behind the scenes. But when it comes to being a good, I'm not just talking about football manager, but being a manager of people, being a manager of decisions, you have to know the right way and the wrong way to approach people, individuals, and collectives. That's why being a manager is hard. That's why there's 1,000 soldiers for every general. It's hard to be able to, in that scale of things, be able to make those decisions and approach things differently and understand the right way of doing it. Mourinho, he was fighting against egos as big as his. And that confrontational point of view, doing it in public, it was never going to work. Conte, very much in the Mourinho school of approaching things, managing things. Very emotional, very angry, very direct. Ralph's been different. And it's only as the season has progressed and got worse and worse and worse that Ralf has started to do this. Look, it's the 9th of May now. I think at this point, Ralf is absolutely entitled to come out and really point the finger at the board. But he's only doing it now. He's only doing it now. He started softly, softly. He did it as gently as he could. That didn't work. Let's go a level deeper. That didn't work. Let's go a level deeper. And that's what I think Ralf has done. And I think the fact that he's done it in that fashion, that's what's allowed change to come. If he was too abrasive immediately, I'm not sure it would have worked. But it's odd, man. It's such an odd decision. An odd decision? No, it's an odd season. It's a crap season. It's not a season anyone's going to look back. It's the worst season I can remember because of what the expectations were at the top. Alex, you're saying, Sam, I don't agree with all the chat, but after watching both fullbacks who are the laziest players I've seen, I agree with Ralf Rangnick's opinion on changes. Well, it's not just only the fullbacks, my friend. Devon, look, there are definitely a lot of people that are blaming Ralf. For sure, there are. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation with you this morning. I felt so strongly in my opinion on the weekend. I just wanted to see if you're all down here. Tim, I can't bother you, Tim. I've already answered a few of your questions and you're still arguing. I'm not here to get into arguments this morning. But look, one more game. It's only one more game. Like 15 bloody days until Crystal Palace. So, geez, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Kevin, fierce criticism from players, agents, and their friends. Ralf is not responsible for them playing on the pitch. Alu saying, can we count on the 1958 demonstrations to uproot us from the Glazers? What the 1958 have done and what the 1958 will continue to do, I'm all for. I'm supporting everything that they are doing. You can argue that they're ineffective, but they're part of a period at United where we're starting to see some sort of changes. And that can only be a good thing. That can only be a good thing. Let's have a look. Jason saying subscribe only. Yeah, it's always only subscribers who can chat on United People's TV because there's too many trolls and the comments. As I said, I'm genuinely interactive. I look at try to look at as many comments that fly in whilst I'm doing this. So I have to cut out some of the noise, otherwise I won't be able to have a conversation with you. Vicky, what are you saying down there? What is the plan for the channel once the season is over? Don't know. I mean, it's transfers. It's going to be the channel. I'll always be here Monday to Friday throughout the entire summer at 9:30 a.m. I'll cover all the transfer news. I will be as hot on the transfer news as I possibly can. It's going to be such a summer of change. And I know we've said this before. We've said this so many times, but this summer, wow. As I said, this has to be the closing of this book, 2014 to 2022, an 8-year history of United. I'm never fucking reading that. But that book has to get closed, and this book has to be open. 2022-23 season onwards, a new era of Manchester United. It's going to be a long era, right? It's going to take a few years because City and Liverpool are so far ahead. It's going to take a few years, but we have to believe that we can. And look, when you see stories like this morning, it only makes you realize how big this gap already is and how big this gap is going to get. Look at this. David Ornstein this morning. Sources in Germany have told The Athletic that Erling Haaland's proposed move from Dortmund to City is now a done deal and should be confirmed this week. So at a time when United are in utter free fall as a football club, without our manager, heading into a summer which is going to be incredible, this Manchester City team, which has been so dominant, I think they're going to be on for their 4th title in 5 years, are about to bring in Erling Haaland. It's not going to get any easier to catch up with City and Liverpool. If we don't start reining in that gap now, what we are like, oh Jesus, we're going to be like 30-odd points behind them this year. And they're about to sign Erling Haaland. That scares the crap out of me. I don't want to think about what City are going to do next year. But this is why we've got to get it right. If we don't get it right now, that gap is going to reach unsurmountable levels where it's going to take a collapse of an incredible scale for us to catch up with City at any point. Oh my God, that terrifies me. That absolutely terrifies me. But it also reiterates how important it is that we get things right. And you're saying that the only benefit I can think of is Liverpool and City are peaking. Hopefully in 3-4 years, they'll wane a bit. I mean, you absolutely could hope that. But the way that City and Liverpool are operating, they're building sustainable growth. City have done it so smartly that they're not really working in cycles. Their cycles keep going. The cycles in the Premier League were previously 3 to 4 years, roughly, thereabouts. But City have just been on the up, and they continue to go up and up and up and up. And they're still keeping Liverpool at bay in the Premier League. And Liverpool won't stop. Klopp's just signed a new deal. Shit's only getting harder and harder. The quality in the Premier League, they're not only the best 2 teams in the Premier League, they are the best 2 teams in Europe over the course of a season. Obviously, in the Champions League, City are knocked out now. And obviously, Real Madrid are going to win the Champions League final. Fingers crossed. But we've got to buck up our ideas because I'm bored of watching our 2 biggest rivals have a circle jerk at the top of the Premier League while we have to sit there flaccid. Sorry about the dick references. They came into my head. I apologise about that. Ten Hag was nailed on to replace Pep. Yeah, I think he was. Donovan, I'm sick and tired of watching these players. We were so lucky to watch the best football for 20 years. My kids support this club and they're being robbed of the enjoyment of the real United. I thought about that quite a while. Man, I was lucky. When I was at school, it was just like puff your chest out. You're a United fan. You could just enjoy yourself. You could brag. Constantly on top. Kids these days must get bullied because they're a United fan. Poor kids. I wish I actually meant that one. Coming to my head. I wish I meant that one. Plenty of dicks at United, so it's understandable. Look at that. Come on, people. I don't see many balloons floating up, Sam. Where's the balloons? I don't know what the balloons are. Give me some balloons. Mark, you're saying, hi, Sam. We've been crap for 10 years. It needs ripping apart. Ripping apart? Don't think we need a port there. Top to bottom. It does. And we know that. And we knew that. Now, look, this is where we need to... I'm going to be doing a video later, either with just my pure opinion on Ralf Rangnick and what's going on, because I think it has to be said. Somebody has to... not stand up for him, but somebody has to keep United fans looking at the right place, because it's so easy to get dragged down into the mud of a 4-0 defeat to Brighton and the mud of how this season has gone. If you want to focus on the short term, that will only benefit the Glazers. That will only benefit them. Oh, you're just so focused on that. You can't see the wood from the trees. We have to make sure we keep looking and talking about the right things. Jibak, Eric Ten Hag's true test of assertion will be if he kicks out Harry Maguire or not. If he is to bring change, he needs to start with the base, else the old wine and a new bottle. Ooh, old wine and a new bottle. Very nice. I personally do agree with that. I absolutely think Eric Ten Hag should be getting rid of Harry Maguire as captain. I think he'll get rid of him as captain. I don't think he'll kick him out of the club. I think if he does go out of the club, it will happen after this season. But look, we've got to now start talking about what's coming next. And hopefully, I tell you what, we've had loads and loads of crap. Wednesday could be a brilliant day, man. Really could be. Old Trafford is nearly sold out for the FA Youth Cup final. It could be 70,000 plus watching our under-18s play the Youth Cup final. That would be incredible. And also on the same day, you could be seeing Ajax and Erik ten Hag lift the Eredivisie title. At the weekend, Ajax drew against Alkmaar. AZ Alkmaar, and it was an 86th minute equaliser from Alvarez that got that point. And that point was huge because PSV managed to throw away a 2-0 lead against Feyenoord and conceded a 97th minute penalty, which means that Ajax can win the Eredivisie title by beating Heerenveen at home at the Amsterdam Arena on Wednesday. So Wednesday night, we may well see the under-18s lift that FA Youth Cup for the first time since 2011. And we may also see Erik ten Hag's Ajax lift the Eredivisie title. And that would be a nice positive note after a season of pure turmoil inside the club. There was a photo which I saw at the week, which I quite liked. I want to see a bit of this next season. I want to see a bit of Erik ten Hag celebrating on the sidelines. Absolutely. Yes, please. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it so much. I'm looking forward to my club not being a joke. That's all I want. I'm not expecting us to be winning the Premier League in the next, realistically, hand on heart, it's 3 years minimum, I think, before we can genuinely, truly compete for that Premier League title. That's how far away Liverpool and City are against us. That's how far we've got to go to get there. Maybe that's being harsh. I don't personally think it's being harsh. That's how far I think we are off. But I think it'll be a good, enjoyable 3-year journey of progress of United, just bit by bit, 1% at a time, getting up towards it. And it may even be longer than 3 years, right? Sam, do you think we can set up something like Ajax as a feeder club like we used to do it with, I think it was Royal Antwerp. It was definitely a Belgian team that we had as a feed. No, Ajax will not be a feeder club. They're far, far too big to be a feeder club. I know the logic and the idea of it, but there's no chance of it. And I just want to see this. Just want to see that. I just want to see Ten Hag in the club suit and for our club to start moving forward with an actual top-level elite manager inside an environment that's geared towards success. We've had neither of those since Fergie. You can argue that we had Mourinho, and I would say, yeah, we did have Mourinho, but it was Mourinho, and Mourinho never fit United. He never, ever did, man. Come on. People are saying, yeah, it was Royal Antwerp. Hey, look at that. Charles watching from Australia. How you doing, Charles? Hey, look, one thing I will say before I move on. Please, if you're new to United People's TV, please consider dropping a like on the video and subscribe and joining the community. The community is growing. You'll find what I would like to think is measured conversation here on United People's TV. I do research videos. I try and stay moderate with my opinions. I don't force my opinion down your throat. I try to interact as much as I possibly can. And I try to make the channel a little bit different to what's out there. So if you do want to, make sure you become part of the community. And also, the podcast is going to get recorded tonight. So ladies and gents, let me pop this in the comments now. Go and follow us over on Instagram, please, if you would. I'll leave the link to the Instagram account down there now. Please go and follow us on Instagram because I'm going to put a story up soon where you can send in your questions to be answered in episode 3 of the podcast tonight. It's going to be me, Alex, Neil, and Bao all talking about the weekend's events, Ralf Rangnick, Lots, and Pogba to City, which of course we'll speak about next. So go over there, and when the story comes out, make sure you send your question in. Keel saying, I'm going to defend the players. Why should they take it seriously when the office is giving their mates jobs? Same players from the UEFA Cup final. Keel, I think you'll be very much isolated when it comes to defending these Manchester United players. But I also do agree, and I think I've said this quite a lot here on United People's TV, that all players are typically and effectively symptomatic of the club environment they are part of. So when a club is in turmoil and freefall, the players will typically be in turmoil and freefall. But at the same time, they are professionals, right? If you have been as shit at your job as United players have been this year, you'd probably be sacked. The difference is your job. Maybe they did, but I don't think they did. Your boss didn't pay £43 million to hire you, so they didn't have like a financial obligation to keep you on and try and get the most out of you. If they could have sacked a lot of these players there, they definitely could have sacked. Tinash, you're saying, I disagree there, Sam. I think 3 proper and good transfer windows, including January, will see us right back in it. It's key to get the signings right from the off. I don't know. I think we'll be right back in it. Maybe not. We'll definitely be far better. We should. What I want to see is United sweeping up against your Brightons, your Watfords, your Norwiches, sweeping up. 2-3-0. Nice. Start getting that back. There's so many different elements and different parts of it, but that's definitely one part of it. Stop people coming to Old Trafford thinking they can dick on us and do what they want. Everybody does. That needs to change. That needs to change. So much needs to change. I don't know what's on the list of things that don't need to change, if you know what I mean. It's almost like everything needs to change. Absolutely everything needs to change. Ice cold Moe. I could do with a glass of that. Generally worried we're going to the conference next season. Conference League. It could absolutely happen. I don't know. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I care. I really don't know if I care. Chris, the players have lost their mojo, for want of a better phrase. Yeah, you can do it there. Batman, I'm not even a professional footballer. I would give my all to United. I mean, it's easy to say from the outside looking in, isn't it? We'd always give our all. But yeah, if you come to a point where there's no respect for the manager and everybody's talking behind the manager's back and it's that sort of sour, toxic environment, shit's getting leaked. It's hard. It's hard to unite that. If that was an army, they'd get fucking killed. They get absolutely mullered. They wouldn't be doing like the Roman tortoise where all the shields are up above and below. They can't be penetrated. Whoop, and they win. But that's what happens when you're well-drilled, well-trained, and everybody's on the same page, the same wavelength, and everybody wants the same thing. So it's not the case anywhere at Manchester United right now. One person we've got to talk about, I did a video on it yesterday, simply because I said that, look, you've got to have a conversation about it. It's not really a conversation I wanted to have, but it's a conversation you couldn't ignore. The idea that Pogba could join Man City. Lots of reports came out from the Telegraph, from Jason Burt. Lots of established journalists were all saying that Pogba to City, it could happen, right? And then Ornstein's come with this morning. He said the Athletic can reveal that Pogba's potential switch is not going to happen after the 29-year-old midfielder opted against joining City, instead favouring the whole package offered by another club. So David Ornstein there saying that Pogba to City will not happen, which probably means PSG, Juve, Real Madrid. And I'll be honest, I do not care. I do not care. All I care... Would I have cared if he'd joined City? Yeah, I probably would have. It would have pissed me off. I wouldn't have looked at it as the same sort of betrayal, I suppose, that it would have been if Rooney went there. That was the comparison I used. But I'd just be dead disappointed. I'd be like, man, he really did not give a fuck about United, did he? He really did not care. But it looks like Pogba's not going City, and that's fine. Because I think wherever he goes next, I think he'll probably go back to that Paul Pogba for France. That's what I think anyway. I just didn't want that to happen in a City shirt. And it looks like it won't, right? Stop saying we are fans, because for Glazers we are business, and if you keep on buying their goods, Glazers will continue. Buying what goods? Buying what goods? And people say this, yeah, just end your anybody who's got a season ticket, you're the problem. Imagine trying to fucking say that the season ticket holders are problems. Do you know how long that waiting list is for a season ticket? If you give a season ticket up, there's another like 300, 400, 5,000 people who will snap that up in a second. Snap it up in a second. Gone. You've done your job. Oh, never mind. Someone's just replaced me. That's what would happen. if all the season ticket holders gave up their season tickets, they would be sold within a week. Every single one of them to someone else who's on that waiting list. Choose your fights, man. And trying to point the fingers towards season ticket holders, I find that very, very odd. Very odd indeed. And you talk about, empty stadiums are the only thing that's going to get the Glazers out. We've just quite literally had 2 years of empty stadiums because of COVID. What did that do? Not sure. And you waited 6 years for your season ticket. Jeez, I have no idea how long I waited for mine for. But the first year I got it was Moyes, the Moyes season. No wonder. Let's go over here and let's talk about Erik Ten Hag and his coaching staff. This came out of the weekend. Fred Rutte, who is an experienced 59-year-old Dutch coach. He's been with like PSV. He's been with a ton of teams. This is what he said at the weekend. He said, Erik Ten Hag asked me to be his assistant at Manchester United, and I said no. Everyone makes his own choices in life. I have a family. I have grandchildren that I want to see. This type of project, I felt uncomfortable with it. So Fred Rutte there saying that Ten Hag asked me to be his assistant, and I've said no. And he's done it for family and personal reasons. Fine, man. Absolutely. Be honest straight away. That's exactly what Fred Rutte has done. If he's not committed and the job's not right for him because it would involve moving to Manchester, then he's not doing it. But that's the first time Fred Rutte's name has come up. Wasn't somebody we've had a conversation about before. But what's going on with Mitchell van der Gaag? I suppose we'll wait until the end of the season. If Ajax can win the Eredivisie title on Wednesday, maybe we can get acceleration a bit quicker than we first thought. Of course, they've still got to play on Sunday the 15th, I think it is their last game. And no doubt they have a parade. And I still think I might go to Amsterdam for that because I want to experience that. I think that'll be class. Kill. Disagree. Pogba cared until unproven Ole got the job. Disagree completely because the best form he ever had in a Manchester United shirt was the first 3 months of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So that's a bit of that's just wrong. Anyway, go down here. It's good news that Pogba's not going City. Yeah, it probably is. Let's go down here. Look, everybody, you know what? We'll come towards the end of the stream in a minute. But keep firing in your questions and your opinions. Anything that I haven't answered, I'll try and answer now. Van der Gaag is a coach. Reisiger is the AM. What's the AM? Assistant manager? Oh, sorry. I get you. Sorry. Yeah. Don't agree, Sam. 2 years of the pandemic forced the Glazers to force the European Super League project. But you talk about, how if you boycott the Glazers, that's how you're really going to hurt them. They got boycotted. Maybe it wasn't the fans that were boycotting, it was something else, but they coped with it by looking elsewhere. You saw what their reaction to a boycott would be. It wouldn't be to sell the club. It would be to how can we possibly replace that revenue with something else? Let's go and sell the soul of the club to the European Super League. That was their response, rather than saying, let's go. Any tickets for the Youth Cup final? They're all available on the website. They're only a quid. It's definitely worth doing it, man. It's definitely worth doing. Josh, why does everyone seem to have an excuse for Pogba but can't see Ralf actually has the best interest of the club? I'm not saying any of you in the comments here, but a lot of modern football is about supporting players more than teams. I remember when Ronaldo left Real Madrid and they lost like millions of followers on Instagram, millions of followers everywhere, and Juventus gained all these millions because Ronaldo fans followed Ronaldo wherever he plays, and that was the team that they supported. Players have got such a power these days that they carry their own fan bases. You try and speak out against Pogba, you're going to have to put your boxing gloves on and face Pogba FC. You say a bad word about Martial on Twitter, you're going to get slammed with an uppercut by Martial FC. Really weird. It's a strange part of modern football culture that I don't really understand. But it's a part of modern football culture. Fans sometimes support players more than they support clubs. And that's a little bit weird. Very odd. Now, I'll wrap up here with a couple of points about transfers. It's a bit of a muted conversation at the moment. I've told you that. I've done a couple of videos on transfers and stuff, but there's just too many things going on at the club right now to think about signings, isn't there? Really, it's odd. Fred, you're saying cheer up, Sam. Real, City and Chelsea are all going to turn over Liverpool. Come on, Benzema. Ooh, come on, Benzema. I'm going to buy a little Real Madrid shirt. I'm not. But come on, Benzema. Do the thing. In Paris. It's poetic. Do it, please. Get French football news saying this yesterday about Aurélien Tchouameni, who you know full well now here on United People's TV, that he is the number one midfielder I think we should be going after. He's saying Liverpool and Real Madrid, they are the two teams currently pursuing him. No mention of Manchester United. And it almost feels like United just got to get in there quick and early. Are we waiting for Ten Hag to come in before we can start talking and thinking about signings that we're going to make? Depending on if clubs act decisively and quickly, it could mean that we miss out on a couple of targets. That's why if Ten Hag can win the title on Wednesday, then United can start having conversations with him, because that last game on Sunday doesn't really matter as much. It's the title is already won. Ideally, win it on Wednesday. Let's get on the phone on Thursday. Let's start having conversations. Let's start identifying targets. Let's start this club moving. Benzema smirking every time the Bertie scored. And then he pops up with the penalty. Oh, man, what a game that was. What a game that was. So that's the latest on Tchouameni. This popped up from Fabrizio this morning, which I know is I suppose an interesting conversation, talking about Yuri Tillemans. He's leaving Leicester. Arsenal discussing terms. He's considered one of the best options on the list. Still nothing agreed. Champions League will be key. And if Champions League is key, we're not getting Yuri Tillemans. And if Champions League is key for Tchouameni, we're not getting Tchouameni. We need to get players that I suppose we don't get into a tug of war over, because as soon as we go toe-to-toe with City and Liverpool, the only reason... No, not the only reason. That's unfair. But we're a project again. And these talented players with massive ambitions, do they really want to come in and be part of this project now? Or do they want to step into Champions League football like the likes of Liverpool or City? Don't know. Weird, isn't it? The Liverpool don't get linked with players until the deal is until the deal is well on the way to being done. They're good like that. Yeah, they do operate themselves. They do operate themselves very well. They're fucking bastards. Absolute bastards. This happened at the weekend. Ahmad got a little goal for Rangers. Hopefully he starts. He won't start. Hopefully he gets to play in the Europa League final. Definitely going to be watching that. Rangers against Eintracht in Seville. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous that they are going to go to Seville in May. It's going to be glorious. It will always be my favourite away trip as a United fan. And it has nothing to do with the football, because we drew 0-0 and it was under Mourinho and it was abysmal. But that trip, can't get any better than that. 2 days of unadulterated February sunshine, 22 degrees in February for 48 hours. It's incredible. But look, I apologize if I come here this morning and I'm a little bit, downbeat, wrong word, muted, I suppose frustrated and a bit affronted, because I expected the reaction to this tweet to be completely supported, but hell, Sam, it's Twitter. Jeez, don't get caught into Twitter, mate. If you got stuck into Twitter too much and you really focused on the reactions, it would drag you under. I stand by what I said there. I'm going to do a video later to go out at lunchtime today. I'm going to do it on Rio Ferdinand's comments about Ralf Rangnick airing the dirty laundry in public, and why I so completely and utterly disagree with what Rio Ferdinand had to say. David, you're saying, Sam, what did you make of Bissouma's performance against us last Saturday? I thought he was good, but I thought Caicedo was the more impressive of the two midfielders. But as a combination, even Brighton's midfield is light years ahead of United's. Brighton's. Jeez. Freddie's saying, when is Ten Hag actually due? It won't be until after the end of the season. Their season finishes on the 15th of May. In 6 days' time, their season is over. So I imagine, realistically, conversations will be happening. If Ajax win the title on Wednesday, the conversations will happen straight away. But if not, and they've got to wait until Sunday, the conversations will happen in the days after that. He'll probably have a week or two holiday and then come into United probably before the end of June. That's what I should hope. Towards the end of May, around about Champions League final time. That's when I hope that we're going to see him in. Stephen saying, see you tomorrow, Sam. Loving the channel. Keep it going. Honestly, I love I keep saying this, and I suppose it's like cliche and all that, but I love the community that's being built here. A lot of like-minded United fans in the comments always here. That's just good. podcast is being recorded tonight. As I said, I'll put it in the comments one more time. Make sure you go and follow us on Instagram. I'm going to put a story up there. If you'd like one of your questions answered on the podcast, go over there. And also, I'll be announcing the winner of the Ten Hag poster competition. The competition, which you can still enter, by the way. You can still enter until we start recording later on. Let me leave the link down here. If you want to enter the competition to win that, all you've got to do is go over here, follow this link, which I've just put down there. Follow that link and leave a 5-star review for the podcast on Apple. There's been loads of entries, but I'm still going to choose, and you've got a chance. Next few hours, if you haven't done it already, head over to the podcast link. It's there. Go to Apple and leave a 5-star review. I'm going to choose the winner of that. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining in this morning. Make sure you check my video out on Rio Ferdinand's comments on Ralf Rangnick later. I'm doing that for around about lunchtime. And then maybe tomorrow we can start. It's 2 weeks with no football. It's really time to start focusing on next season now. So the content will change a little bit. But thank you very much for joining in. I hope you all have a decent day. And if you're in England, go and sunbathe because it is scorching out there.